In a quiet suburban neighborhood, a horrific incident occurred that will forever haunt the lives of those who witnessed it. This is the story of a 16-year-old girl and her neighbor's son who find a dark secret hidden inside their neighbor's house. This story is told by a 16-year-old girl. I was young and playing with our neighbor's son at the time when suddenly we heard the voice of his older sister screaming a lot in pain, so we rushed together to find out what happened to her. We found her in her room and a cleric sitting next to her to find out what was wrong with her, which was hidden to me at the time. And it is scary. What happened that day I will never forget, and despite all the years that have passed, I still remember it as if it happened yesterday. The girl suddenly changed and her voice became like the voice of an old man. She shouted at the man and everyone in the room, and she stood up once in a way that terrified us all, and she started walking until she was in the middle of the room. Then she raised her foot and stood on only one. She tilted her head back until she touched the ground beneath her, and she is still standing. On one foot, she remained in this position for a long time after the cleric and her family failed in their attempts to change her position. After that, the girl fell alone to the ground, unconscious. When she regained consciousness, we began to ask her many questions about what she had done, but she did not remember anything. The incident had left us all deeply disturbed. We couldn't wrap our heads around what had just happened. The older sister had no memory of her eerie behavior. That night I couldn't sleep, haunted by the image of her standing on one foot, her voice transformed, and her unnatural movements. The whole neighborhood was abuzz with the strange events of that evening. In the following days, the news of the bizarre occurrence spread, and people started talking about it. Rumors swirled that the house was haunted. A sense of unease settled over the community, and some began avoiding the house altogether. A few weeks later, I couldn't resist my curiosity and decided to investigate the house. I asked my neighbor's son to accompany me. As we entered the room where the exorcism had taken place, a shiver ran down my spine. It felt colder in there, and the air seemed heavy with an ominous presence. We decided to conduct our own investigation to uncover the truth. We started by researching the history of the house and its previous occupants. What we discovered sent chills down our spines. The house had a dark history, with reports of unexplained phenomena dating back decades. There were stories of a tragic death and a malevolent spirit that was said to haunt the premises. Determined to unravel the mystery, we set up cameras and recording devices in the room. As the days passed, we reviewed the footage and audio recordings, hoping to find some clue as to what had possessed the older sister. We began to notice strange shadows and eerie sounds that couldn't be easily explained. One night, while reviewing the recordings, we saw a shadowy figure standing in the room. It was the same spot where the older sister had stood on one foot. The figure seemed to move with a sinister purpose, and we watched in horror as it approached the camera, causing it to malfunction. Frightened but resolute, we decided to consult experts in the paranormal. A team of investigators came to the house, armed with various tools and gadgets. They conducted a thorough examination of the room, and their instruments started registering unusual readings. They concluded that the house was indeed haunted by a malevolent spirit, one that was seeking to possess the living. The exorcism of the house began, a lengthy and harrowing process. The girl's family was forced to move out temporarily as the battle between the spiritual world and the living unfolded. The exorcism involved intense rituals, chants, and a confrontation with the angry entity. It was a night of terror, filled with bizarre occurrences and a sense of impending doom. As the exorcism reached its climax, the malevolent spirit made one final attempt to resist expulsion. It unleashed a torrent of paranormal activity, causing objects to levitate and the temperature in the room to plummet. But the determined clergy and paranormal investigators persevered, and with a final chant, they forced the spirit out of the house. The ordeal was over, and the older sister slowly returned to her normal self. The family moved back into their home, But the memory of that fateful night would forever linger in their minds. The house was finally at peace, and the neighborhood gradually regained its sense of security. To this day, I still can't forget the terrifying events that unfolded in that house, and I often wonder what other dark secrets might be hidden in the world, waiting to be discovered by those brave enough to seek the truth. When the exorcism was over, the house fell silent, and the eldest sister was freed from the grip of the malicious spirit. With a new sense of peace, the family returned to their home, but the memory of that terrifying night will remain in their minds forever. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel to receive all the scary stories on our channel.